Algebraic expressions. Algebra is a generalized form of arithmetic that uses three things. The first is numbers. Examples 1, 2, 3, 7, 10, 3/4. Any number is fine. The second is signs of operations. When we say signs of operations, we're talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication. Remember, we can use the X or the dot or the parentheses, and of course, division. The third thing are letters. We can use lowercase letters or uppercase letters. We try to avoid using things like the letter O because it looks so much like a zero, but either one is fine. These letters have a special name. We can call them variables or unknowns. We call them that because we do not know their value, and their value may vary, hence the word variables. If we have a variable standing by itself, let's say an X, then it is assumed that there is a 1 in front of it. X is the same as 1 times X. Remember, when we did the multiplication identity property, 1 times any number was the same number. So if we have 1 times X, that would be X. If we had 1 times A, that would be A. So a variable by itself has an assumed 1 as the multiplier in front of it. Let's look at some algebraic expressions, and we'll go from the verbal expression in English to the math or algebraic expression. In English or verbally, we say 7 plus X. But in mathematics, we write 7 with the symbol for plus and then X. A number Y plus 12 is just written Y plus 12. 14 minus L is written 14 minus L. Notice we have symbols for each of these words. 9 minus a number P is written 9 minus P. P stands for the missing number. 25 times Y is written 25Y. Because it's a number and a letter, we assume multiplication between them. We do not need to write any symbol at all. A number X multiplied by 5. You may first want to write X times 5, but we always write the number first. So we're going to write 5X. Remember that a number followed by a letter is assumed multiplication, and that if we have a number and a letter to multiply, it's standard form to write the number first. S divided by 8 can be written in fraction form, S with the division bar, 8, or S divided by 8 with the regular division symbol. In most algebraic equations, you will see it written in fraction form. 75 divided by the number P. Here we have 75 divided by P, also in fraction form, or 75 divided by P. You may wonder why in this case the number was in the numerator, where in the last one the number was in the denominator. If we compare the verbal expression, for division, whatever comes after the words divided by goes on the bottom. So if S is divided by 8, since 8 comes after divided by, the 8 is on the bottom. And here, since the number P is after the words divided by, the P goes on the bottom. In our next example, the square of the number X. Remember that when we did exponents, we talked about the word square. This would mean X to the second power, or X squared. X minus -7, we need an X minus -7. The parentheses in this case are here so that you do not get the negative sign confused with the minus sign. These parentheses do not mean to multiply. They're there for clarification purposes only. And lastly, 8 plus 3 times the number y, 8 plus 3y. Remember that the number followed by the letter assumes the multiplication. So if you look at these carefully and take your time, remembering that each of these has a symbol, it's like translating from English into algebra, you will be able to solve all of these expressions.
Jackie Hogan, a math teacher for 25 years, reviewed our higher mathematics program. Listen to how Jackie Hogan explains the relationship of the language of algebra and English.
One of the questions I get since I have been teaching math is, what is algebra? What you need to understand is that algebra is the language of math. Just as we speak English, and stop and think about when you first learned the English language, someone taught you the alphabet. The alphabet was made up of letters, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. In algebra or in math, those letters are called variables. We also use numbers along with our variables. When you were learning the English language, you learned to put the letters together to form words. In math, we would put letters and variables and numbers together for X or 8YZ, and that would form a term in algebra. The term is the same thing as a word in the English language. Now, when you began speaking English, you learned to put words together to make phrases. In math, when we put terms together, we make expressions. For instance, 4x plus 6 and 3a squared minus 7. These would be examples of expressions. Notice that in our expressions, our terms are separated by a plus sign or by a subtraction sign. It's the same thing as if you were writing a phrase that you would leave a space in between the words. In math, we put an addition symbol or a subtraction symbol in between the terms. Now, when you were learning to speak and you spoke in phrases, then somewhere someone taught you to speak in a complete sentence. A complete sentence would look like this in math. 4x plus 6 is equal to 14. And our word for a complete sentence in algebra is called the equation.
Please pause the video now and complete the problems in your workbook. When finished, press play, and we'll continue with the next lesson.